Hey everybody, welcome to episode 4 of the Stop and Give Me 20 podcast. 20 minutes with some of the world's top fitness professionals. I'm your host, Anthony Arena, and you can check out the show notes at Stop20podcast, stop20podcast.com. Before you do that, though, go to iTunes and subscribe to the show. Leave us a rating and a review. That really help us out a lot just starting out. For today's episode, I got on my buddy, Coach Robert Dos Remedios, and Coach Dos is a Nike Elite Performance Coach and Consultant. He is a sought-after international speaker on a variety of strength and conditioning topics. He served as the Director of Speed, Strength and Conditioning at the College of the Canyons in Santa Clarita, California, a position he held from 1999 to 2015. He's currently a kinesiology professor there. While he was there, he also won the prestigious National Strength and Conditioning Association's Collegiate Strength and Conditioning Professional of the Year Award. That was 2006. He's the author of the best-selling books, Men's Health Power Training and Cardio Strength Training. You can check him out at CoachDose.com. All of his links to his social media will be at Stop20podcast.com as well. Coach, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks. I think that's the 20 minutes right
I know,
there,
we're done. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Great being here. Great being here.
All right, let's get this bad boy going. Coach, what's your story?
I don't know. I like to drink beer. I like to train pretty hard. It's one of those things where, most people know my bio and all that kind of stuff. And, I just enjoy doing this stuff. This is like, for me, it's like, I hang out with Alan Cosgrove all the time. We talk shop. And, for me, it's kind of like a kid in the candy shop. Anytime, there's new training stuff out there or things that people are doing or new tools. That's just, I love that whole exploration part, the digging in and trial and error and, getting in the fireplace and some work,
Coach, what was the spark though? When you were a kid, was it fitness lifestyle? Were your parents into it? Were you just natural? Were you just like a big guy who was playing football and said, I got to start lifting weights? What got you into kind of the fitness lifestyle?
Yeah, it was the big guy thing. I was like the big kid, big fat kid. And then you just become, it's only natural you're going to be a lineman because that's really, there's not much else, people want you to do. So yeah, from that point on, and just kind of the progression going through college and then going and playing, at Cal and meeting strength coaches and kind of understanding the science and figuring out that it's not just kind of like getting in there and doing muscle head stuff in the gym. There's an art and a science to the whole thing, and there's a purpose to the training. So that's what really fascinated me, and that's what pushed me to go to grad school and learn more about it. And then after that, it was like the next 25, 27 years was just kind of getting in there and learning. And back then, that we know so much more now, obviously, than we did then. But it was, it's a long process. If you talk to somebody like, Mike Boyle will tell you the same thing. We were doing a lot of stuff that we really, really felt was the best stuff that there was. But looking back now, it's not that great anymore because it's pretty primitive stuff. But that's the cool thing about this, this whole entire field is kind of like that evolution and the progression of things that we, knew that were sound. You might have that same kind of bedrock foundation, but different ways to get at that same, end result.
Absolutely. I always remember the quote from Thomas Myers when I first saw him speak at Perform Better. He said, what I'm about to tell you, only 50% is true. The problem is I don't know which 50%. So it's so great because we're evolving all the time. We think we know the answers, and until you, once you start to, you're in it for a little while, you start to realize, wow, I really don't know anything. So it's very cool to be part of it. So I agree. Coach, being in sports too, and I just had Tony Genlicor on the last episode, and he was talking about his who his superhero growing up was, and it was one of his coaches. So besides your parents, unless it really is them, who was your superhero growing up? Who kind of influenced you the most to be who you are?
Honestly, for me, my father passed away many years ago, but it honestly is. When I think about my parents and the plight that we made, immigrated over here from Hong Kong, and he created a new life after mandatory retirement age back over there, and had to start at the bottom of the ladder. And to me, that it's everything that we look at nowadays as far as like what I'm trying to instill in my daughter and what I try to go through every day in life is just kind of like, you grind and you work and, there's nothing really easy, but, work, the whole thing about working hard, there's great things that are going to happen, for people who work hard. I mean, to me, that's what it was. Because growing up, I wasn't really a sports guy until, like high school, college, and started really kind of getting into other athletes and things like that. But for me, honestly, it was my mom, my dad especially, who just had that ridiculous work ethic, and the thing, his attention to detail, kind of like those are the things that drove me and kind of made me, I think, successful. And I see that with my daughter a little bit, kind of passed on. So I think that's kind of cool to see that kind of go through the chain of our family. But yeah, honestly, yeah, it's my dad. I mean, everything that I can go back and think of that I've accomplished can be that. And then obviously, once I got to like junior college, we just had a Hall of Fame deal at my junior college, and I just reflected on some of my coaches there, and a man named John Sacudo, who was actually our defense coordinator when I was playing there, but I came back and coached for him when he became head coach, and he's just been like the second father. He was a father figure to me, and just instilled all those, basically reinforced all those things that I was kind of learning from my own dad, or seeing from my dad. It wasn't like my dad sat me down and said, "This is what you should do, and this is what you have to do." Like I just watched him do it, and watched how he provided for us and was able to do it against a lot of odds without a college education and all that kind of stuff. So, John Sacudo, basically, if I got to pick another one after that, would definitely be him. He's pretty much everything I want to be as a coach, and the influence that he has is just over thousands and thousands of people, and pro football players everywhere, and pro coaches, and he's just been in that hub, that junior college hub, his whole career basically, and kind of like how I was. So that's definitely what I wanted to emulate for sure.
Yeah, I think anybody that meets you too, or I know you'll go anywhere for a seminar for any price. It's like amazing because you're so passionate to do this stuff. You just want to be part of it. And I think everybody around you always kind of feels that. And I've been around your daughter. I've seen the influence that you have on her, and you have your gym called the House of Pain in your garage, and I've seen her working hard, and now she's we've seen it on social media, her volleyball career progress, and it's so cool to kind of, like you said, to see the multi-generational thing go right through it, and you could see the hard work that she's putting in, not only for being a volleyball player, but she's an A student. So good job on that part, on being on you and your wife on raising her, because it's great to see that. But Coach, who's your superhero now, though? Who could be anybody, just kind of looking up to the way where you want to be and what you're doing in your life. Who are you looking up to?
Gosh, I've had so many influences as far as just professionally, but when I think about I actually finished a book recently. It wasn't really related to our field per se, but there's a coach out here named Greg Hayes. He used to coach basketball. He teaches at Valencia High School right down the street, and he actually went to UCLA and was a grad assistant coach over there, and actually did a lot of stuff in all the camps with John Wooden. So just kind of, all the stuff that we've ever heard about Wooden, obviously it's amazing stuff, right? And just his coaching philosophies and the way he took time for no matter what skill level you were. When I look back at the legacy that he has and the stories that Greg tells, it just reiterates that. I mean, just the fact that he would spend as much time with an 8-year-old as he would with Kareem. I mean, it was like that art of coaching was such a gift, and he felt like it was so special to be able to give that gift to somebody and give that tidbit or tip that to me, that's superhero to me. You know what I mean? Like that would be like the epitome of the kind of coach. If all coaches were like that, we would never have these shitty experiences that we see some kids have. And even my daughter's gone through with different coaches and club and all that kind of stuff. But to me, it's going to be a John Wooden for sure. Like somebody who his entire life was that, geared towards giving and never expecting any accolades, never wanting anything back, just to give those things and to constantly learn and then pass on that learning, as he was getting older. So much of his wisdom was post coaching, was him running these camps with these young kids way after he was retired for many, many years. And just to kind of think, hear his stories and the life lessons and stuff. People just got better. I mean, there are kids that are in those camps who are 8 years old in those camps that probably still tell stories to their kids today from those, the experiences with John Wood. And so to me, that's like the epitome of a coach. We have our professional things, professional influences that people that I work side by side, like Alan or Boyle and guys like that. But when I think of like the top of the mountain, you definitely gotta think about something like this, because it's just such a, like I said, a selfless thing. I just want to coach and get people better, because that's, it's a gift that I have. It's working, and I don't expect anything back for it or any accolades or anything.
Yeah, that's interesting, and this next question is, to me, kind of a great segue, because of the fact that it's going to be a hard one for you, because you're a teacher, you're a dad, you train the trainers, you train general population. So who do you want to be a superhero to now? Who are you trying to help?
Well, obviously my daughter. I mean, I just want her to succeed. I want her to. She has opportunities that obviously her mom and I didn't have. As far as if she, whatever college she gets into and wants to go to, we'll be able to send her to, that kind of thing. But like you just said, earlier, kind of watching her develop and seeing her, I'm just seeing a really caring, good person. And to me, that's I feel like at the end of the day, we've done it. We've done a pretty good job with that. And obviously it's ongoing, and now she's about to get her license, and now I'm looking at cars, and that's a whole nother can of worms with that, to see how responsible she is with that next, part of her life.
Yeah.
But obviously anybody I work with, like I work with a couple of athletes out here just at my house that, for friends that I know as a favor to them, essentially. And I really take that serious. So like I feel like they're under my care, and I'm going to do every single thing I can, just like I did when I had 300 athletes a day, which is obviously a different scenario, but there wasn't a single one, obviously, where you were like, oh, I care about this person getting better, but this kid, not so much. For the most part, everybody that comes and invests, I'm going to invest equally. So for me, that's kind of where I'm going. Obviously my daughter, and it's just like one of those things where sometimes I think, and it's tough, because you just want everything right for them. You don't want anything bad to ever happen to them. It's like it's a weird feeling, that protective feeling that you have it. Did I teach them right? What kind of decisions are they going to make? What's that work ethic going to be like? Is she going to be able to succeed, in times of adversity? And that's kind of like, that's the experiment that we're going through right now at 15 years old, and seeing where that goes. And I'm stoked to see where she ends up being, when she's 20, 22, 25 years old.
Absolutely. Very cool. Coach, let's stay on the coaching piece of it right now. I think, we've seen a lot of, we're doing a better job of learning about coaching, not just the sets and reps. Do you feel like, where do you think that's going with the industry and coaching? Do you feel like we're doing a good job? Do you feel like we have a long way to go? Do you feel like, where are we going with this idea of the art of coaching?
I think it's just that it's an art, right? And so I think some people are really, really going to be great at the X's and O's and the numbers and the periodization and all that kind of stuff, but they just won't have that ability to convey the message or be able to motivate people. So that's the part that takes time, I think, is understanding like what your persona is in this environment. And then for me, it was always, at 11 o'clock, my volleyball girls leave, and now my football guys come in. So that's a different kind of animal. So how, that art of being able to change gears a little bit, get the same, essentially almost a lot of times the same exact workout sometimes done, but to convey that message a little bit differently and to have the motivation be a little bit different, and sometimes a little more stroking versus sometimes a little more, shoe in the butt kind of stuff. And that's, to me, the part that comes with, interning and shadowing and working in that deal. So I think a lot of times now we see a lot of stuff, and you and I have talked about this before, a lot of this kind of like, armchair coaches, essentially. So people that say, oh, if I had that group, I would be doing this, when they've never done it. Like, they've never been in that environment. They wouldn't even know at that point, with 30 people in that weight room, how would they deal with three guys that just don't understand it, or just don't want to get it, or are, being counterproductive to what you're doing. Like, those are the things that the experience you get over time and working with coaches and working with teams. So I think, as far as the art of coaching goes, I think there's a lot of great philosophy, but if it's not coming from somebody who's been doing it, it's kind of like, me, getting law advice from the guy that stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night or something. I mean, to me, it's like, it's not going to be valid. If somebody's telling me about coaching business stuff for a gym, but they're an internet trainer, like that doesn't work. I'm going to go to a Cosgrove and guys like that who know the X's and O's with that stuff, and the experience and the gyms that they work with and the problems that they've seen and how they put out those fires. So, I think we're better at it. I think we understand a lot of the components, especially a lot of the psychological stuff that we have to deal with. It's not just the X's and O's, but that's where it also comes with. I've always felt like I was a coach. I started off as a football coach, and I think that a lot of times that helps. It really does help with the coaching, especially with larger groups, quirky personalities and stuff like that. I think I had the advantage coming in as being, a football coach, and I've been a head football coach and a position coach and all that stuff. And then really taking over a strength and conditioning program with every sport, it was an easy transition for me because I was always a coach. And then I had a pretty good knowledge of the stuff I was coaching. Whereas a lot of people now come in with all this knowledge, maybe pass a CSCS and stuff, and come in with no practical experience in those environments. So even if they're going to go back and help that high school, they kind of have a rough time, kind of corralling the troops there.
Absolutely, and I think I always go back to, that's why I love the Perform Better Summits, and you said this to me, like, yeah, you can tell how good a coach somebody is once they're doing the practical in the Perform Better and they have 300 people in there. So it's always an interesting time, but Coach, now it's time for the Stop and Give Me Five segment, and this is going to be the worst one I've done so far for someone, because I'm giving you the hardest ones because I know you. Coach, you're on a desert island. For some reason, you have a TV there. You only have one channel. It's the NHL Network, because I know you're a new NHL fan, or the College Football Network. You got to pick one.
Oh man, I'm going to go with NHL. I mean,
Yes.
I'm a football guy, but it's tough to watch some of the football commentary stuff. It honestly is. It's just so different than watching NHL, at work, and their interviews, and it's way better. It's just it's just a better production.
Absolutely, I agree. Same desert island, slosh pipe, ultimate sandbag, or kettlebell. You can only pick one. What do you got?
I'm gonna go ultimate sandbag. That's
All
my boy, Josh Henkin.
Josh, he's gonna be happy. Coach, I hate to do this to you. One beer. That's it. You got an unlimited tap on this island. What is it?
You already know that's like the one piece of equipment thing in the whole world, right? I go by categories and everything, but I got to go with one. I'm a huge IPA guy. I'm going to go with Knee Deep Brewing up in Northern California. There's Simtra IPA.
All right. What profession do you think you'd be doing if you weren't doing what you're doing now?
Honestly, I probably see maybe fireman.
All right. Very cool. Yep. What's the one thing you miss most about coaching at the collegiate level?
The team, like the team camaraderie, not necessarily like individual players, but just the team, breaking the team at the end of a workout, or getting the team together at the beginning to tell them what's going on and getting guys fired up about, a game they got coming up or something. To me, that's the biggest thing for sure. Very cool. You got any project, anything you're working on right now that you're really excited about? Yeah, actually, with Pat Beef, we did complete program design, which was awesome, and it was really a cool little product and manual and video set and all that stuff to kind of branch off of power training. But we're actually working on a certification with that, because there are so many coaches and trainers and schools that use complete program design that we think it might be kind of a cool thing to kind of venture into.
Awesome. Coach, last one. You got 30 seconds. What's the letter to your younger self? What advice are you giving yourself?
I think patience. right? I think that was a thing that I was probably really. I still am pretty impatient at times, but I think I've been able to, as the years have gone on, become more patient, let things develop a little bit more before the reaction. So definitely be that. I've always kind of been a half full guy, and now I feel like becoming possibly a half empty guy, and now developing myself into becoming more of a half full guy. So that letter would definitely be slow your roll, chill for a minute, take your time. Things will work out. If they don't, we'll figure out a way to do it and kind of deal with if it's adversity or something that's going on. But I think as I've gotten older, even near the end of my college career, I got better at that already. And then I think that really kind of pushed me off into my first 10 years or so of actually coaching. So that's it.
Very cool. Well, that's our 20 minutes. Coach, we want to thank you for coming on. You've been an inspiration to so many other coaches and so many kids, thousands of kids over all the time you spent doing such great work. So and the work that you continue to do also not only as a professor but with Nike and now your new project. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much, Dan.
All right, well, that's going to do it for episode 4 of the Stop and Give Me 20 podcast. Thanks again to Coach Robert Dos Remedios. Make sure you check out all the links to all his stuff at stop20podcast.com. That's stop20podcast.com. Don't forget to go subscribe to the show. Leave us a review and a rating. It's really going to help us out. We're still a new show. My name's Anthony Renna. Thank you so much for stopping by.